halal food for those in need. As U.S. restaurants closed during the pandemic, out-of-work chefs turned their talents to preparing food for the Muslim community.
Recovering from the devastating impact of Boko Haram insurgency requires more than restored peace. Residents of affected communities in Adamawa State, northeast Nigeria, want sustainable development efforts to be expedited.
Remembering a civil rights icon, from fighting for desegregation to ensuring the right to vote in the U.S., the life of activist John Lewis is chronicled in Good Trouble.
Hello and thanks for tuning into the show that goes around the continent to bring you stories near and far. I'm Chamberlain Usowa, Channels Television here in Lagos. I'm joined by my colleague with a new look from Voice of America in Washington.
Well, thanks. I'm Vincent McCory. Happy to be with you again for another edition of Africa 54. Due to the global outbreak of COVID-19, the Voice of America has reduced staffing at VOA headquarters in Washington, D.C. So as you see, our broadcast will look a little different today and in the near future. We appreciate you staying with us on Africa 54. Let's start off with the latest from Nigeria. Channels Television in Lagos brings you that story.
Well, that's right. Residents of communities affected by insurgency in Madagali, local government area of Adamawa State, northeast Nigeria, are appealing to the federal government to expedite efforts to rebuild damaged infrastructure. According to them, this will provide an enabling environment for the state's agricultural and economic opportunities to be harnessed to drive development. Channels Television's correspondent Freedom Haslon compiled the report.
Normalcy is gradually being restored in Madagali local government, an area heavily affected by activities of Boko Haram in Adamawa State. At the height of insurgency, Madagali was under the control of terrorists who hoisted their flag. Today, the people have returned to their ancestral homes and are going about their farming activities. Commercial activities are also picking up as petty traders display their wares. This year's Eid celebration was observed in an atmosphere of peace. Despite the relative peace being achieved in Madagali, the people decry the refusal of development partners, donor agencies, investors and even contractors to return to the area to execute development projects expected to transform their lives because of perceived fear of insecurity. A peace and unity meeting between residents of Madagali and their Cameroonian counterparts, aimed at improving the security situation in the border area, culminates in a friendly football match. Some stakeholders share their views on the outcome of the meeting.
Planned by the administration to tar all the roads in this town. The plan has gone far. We are just waiting for them to finish with Gulag and then come here. In fact, they would have started at the same time, but the contractor said no, there is no peace in Madagali. So we wanted him to work in Gulag for a time being, then look at this, assess the security station around, then come down to Madagali to do the job.
The district head of Madagali speaks on the need to improve the security situation in the area, while a federal lawmaker from the community appeals to those who abandoned the area to return.
We are appealing to the federal, state, and then the Northeast Initiative to please provide these things so that our people will come back to renovate our houses, our places of worship, schools, and the rest.
I'm calling on other investors to come to Madagali because Madagali is endowed with natural resources. I'm calling on other indigenous of this place to come back home and continue their normal living. As you have seen, majority of people have resumed their farming activities because we can sleep with all our eyes closed.
This interaction, which is a first of its kind since insurgency began, will not only build mutual trust and promote peaceful coexistence, but will go a long way in building confidence and trust that normalcy in these border communities is being achieved.
All right, for more on fostering development in communities affected by insurgency in Nigeria's northeast, We're joined by the Executive Secretary of the Yobe State Emergency Management Agency, Dr. Mohammed Goje, who joins us from Damaturu, the state capital. Welcome to Africa 54.
Thank you very much.
All right, so tell us, how much efforts have state governments in the Northeast put into rebuilding communities that were devastated by insurgency?
Thank you very much for this question. For us in the Northeast and Yobe State in particular, when His Excellency came on board in May 2019, one of the priorities he emphasized, especially our agency, is to review our needs assessment of community hitherto affected by insurgency. Using worst hit community, medium hit, and the last hit community in the assessment. So we reviewed our assessment using the 3Gs, that's worst hit LGS, Gujba, Gulani, Gaidam, then the other LGS, and came up with a multi-sectoral approach to respond to the needs of those affected communities. And this approach was channeled towards different respective line MDS, be it housing, be it road construction, be it health, and be it livelihood. So His Excellency, when he came on board, the approach in Yobe is multi-sectoral, and the approach goes concurrently. This is to avoid duplication and to give the newly liberated communities the room to return and live in their communities hitherto affected by insurgency.
So how much would you say has been achieved in improving the socio-economic realities of these communities?
At the moment, currently, this effort has yielded a lot of results. And notable to mention is the fact that, for instance, now, Gujiba local government, Bunyadi in particular, a town that has been occupied by Boko Haram for over 2 years, people have returned now. Why have they returned? The road has been constructed, police station has been renovated, civil authorities were returned, secretariat has been constructed, even public buildings have been rebuilt. And above all, the basic lively means of those people in those communities is farming. So farmers are being encouraged, they're being given improved seeds. The effort is yielding results because as I speak to you now, barely there's no political word in Yobe State that people have not returned. This shows that there's belonging for them to return, and they have returned to the communities.
These communities are demanding expedited development efforts in order to attract development partners and other economic opportunities. How best can this be achieved?
This can be achieved through providing enabling environment to the development partners to come and support the communities. A case study of Yobe State is ensuring that for every development partner that comes into Yobe State, they key into the priority of the government to avoid duplication. 2, government will lead the process in ensuring that they have the enabling environment, they have access to communities without difficulties. How we do that is ensuring that security access, movement with commodities, meetings and other engagement with partners is very easy, so much so that the bureaucratic process does not take long to deny the receiving community the benefit from those projects. This has yielded results, and more intervention are coming in, even from corporate social responsibility of like NNPC and Shell Petroleum Development Company. A lot of interventions are coming in, and government is leading to ensure that the beneficiary received those interventions on time.
All right, then Dr. Mohammed Goje, Executive Secretary of the Yobe State Emergency Management Agency. Thank you for talking to us on Africa 54.
Thank you very much.
The coronavirus pandemic forced small businesses around the world to come up with new ways to cope with the new reality, including using technology to stay afloat. VOA correspondent Mariama Diallo reports.
As a car dealership in North Dakota, Reynard Bergstrom says he could have cut costs in the wake of the pandemic by reducing his staff. Instead, he thought outside the box to keep his team employed.
When the pandemic first hit, we got together a team of 7 people. It was 6 people on site, and then Rhonda was on the team as well.
Rhonda Laws is a virtual assistant. Hired to work off-site, she manages everything from clients to the dealership's day-to-day needs.
COVID-19 situation is something that we started earlier than that, trying to take some of the workload that can be done remotely off of some of the people here, where Rhonda being off-site could focus on some of the behind-the-scenes things that needed to be done, the policies that needed to be drafted, and some of the research on what we needed for equipment and cleaning supplies and those types of things.
Bergstrom says because Laws has expanded some projects, he might even need to hire another virtual assistant to manage the workload.
I've seen a lot of people around me losing their jobs and getting laid off, but I think that will start moving more toward virtual in a lot of ways, just in business in general.
Bergstrom cars were started almost 100 years ago by Reynard's grandfather. Despite the pandemic, he says he's confident the company will remain strong because they've learned to adapt quickly. Mariama Diallo, VOA News.
Schools in many parts of sub-Saharan Africa remain closed due to the coronavirus pandemic. In Somalia, the closures have further crippled an already fragile education system. Despite the closures, Somalia's government went ahead with exams for 34,550 children from 618 schools across the country, imposing strict measures to the examination centers to try to curb the spread of the virus.
In the sweltering seaside port of Mogadishu, Omar Mohammed is sitting his end-of-school exams at a school turned into an examination center. Mohammed has secured a place at a university in Mogadishu where he hopes to study information technology. The examination results will come out in August, and the 17-year-old is hopeful he will pass. But studying at home has been a struggle for Mohammed and many of his friends.
It was so difficult for us to prepare the exams. We missed some classes. At the beginning of school year, we attended classes really well. But with the COVID-19 outbreak, our schools closed.
In March 2020, schools were closed in Somalia to help curb the spread of coronavirus. Millions of Somali children have no idea when they will be able to return to class. Despite the measures, the Somali government says that 34,550 children had taken exams from 618 schools.
As a ministry, we have decided to give students a chance, especially those that have been studying for a long time and are ready to pass out. COVID-19 prevention measures like using face coverings, gloves, and observing social distancing will be followed. We have also doubled the number of exam centers.
The ministry has also doubled the number of exam centers to help maintain social distancing. The country so far has reported 3,178 cases and 93 deaths.
COVID-19's impact on food industry and restaurant services in the U.S. led to job loss for many local chefs. 2 chefs who served in Washington, D.C. now prepare halal food for Muslim families in Virginia. The chefs are part of a new food equity pilot program targeting underrepresented groups like Muslims who are not served by traditional food delivery programs. VOA's Zela Nouri has more.
Many Americans are struggling to make ends meet during the COVID pandemic. But some Muslim families are having unique troubles because of cultural differences that keep them away from other relief programs.
Everyone's doing things, so I guess I was just
In Virginia's diverse Fairfax County, officials are working to make sure their relief programs help everyone.
It's about employment, and it's also about ensuring that we have a One Fairfax concept throughout our community. Trying to get food to folks that do not have the opportunity to get food, as well as employment of our individuals here in the county, is a key. And what she is doing is a testament to how we go through COVID as one, not as a separate sole source, but as one group.
To help, 2 chefs with a background in cooking Middle East food are helping by preparing halal-based food for distribution as part of the pilot food relief program. They both run their own businesses and are affected by COVID-19.
When COVID happened, me and my partner got laid off of our restaurants in DC. So we took about 2 days until we were like, all right, let's do something. And we researched incubator kitchens in the area, DC, Maryland, Virginia. We visited a few, and this one really just felt like us, and it just fit right away.
An incubator kitchen is a place that provides high-end cooking facilities for chefs outside of restaurants. One of those groups is Frontier Kitchen. They provide the facilities for the chefs as they cook for Muslim families.
This was the perfect place for a lot of businesses who were in production to continue being in production. And for businesses that did get hit outside of here, we've noticed an influx of them coming to our kitchen to still continue to be able to produce, even though they can't out of their existing restaurant.
The program provides Muslim families with the option of vegetarian or meat-based prepared food in bags of groceries. Dawn says the pilot program serves diverse community members, including Muslims.
We did some research and we have data, and based on the data, we recognize that our Muslim community has a high need as it relates to halal foods, and we also recognize that a lot of these food distribution efforts are happening during the week. Not a lot's happening on the weekends, and so we wanted to fill those gaps as well.
Iman Habib, owner of Bonibon food truck, says with COVID she lost 70% of her income, and now the local pilot program helps her business to continue and earn revenue.
So this program not only helped me as a business owner, it actually helped me to employ people that are out of work, as well as resource local vendors for the program. So I'm supporting people producing baklava, for instance, or pita bread, and so everybody benefits from this.
These chefs come together and prepare meals for 250 families a week in Frontier Kitchen. That includes groceries to cook through the week as well as family-style meal. Gila Nouri, Fairfax, Virginia, VOA News.
Nigeria's closure of places of worship as part of efforts to prevent the spread of the coronavirus outbreak put a strain on the activities of churches nationwide. Tech entrepreneur Mercedes Otakponwehi is helping churches to digitize their operations using her mobile phone app. Although places of worship have since been reopened, such digital solutions is providing an alternative for those who are yet to return to physical gatherings. Take a look.
Henry Okolo has grown accustomed to using his phone to stay in touch with God during the coronavirus pandemic. He uses an app every Sunday morning to listen to a virtual service in Nigeria's commercial capital, Lagos. Okolo, a father of two, has used it to help his family pray at home following the closure of churches in March. The All Sanctus app, created last year by a Nigerian tech firm, allows Catholics to attend virtual services, reserve time with priests, and make financial offerings.
It was a welcome development because it made so many things easy for us. Cut the gaps of trying to access the office sometimes. So you can do all of those from the convenience of your house.
Let us pray. It is part of a broader trend across Africa which has seen people worship remotely, often by watching sermons online following the widespread closure of churches. Paul Aki Otiko is the chaplain at Okolo's Catholic chaplaincy. The local priest has been using the app for over a year. Since the global pandemic, he says the app has been effectively utilized as it is tailored to the needs of his church. Parishioners are able to book appointment with him and make offertory, which has dwindled since the insurgence of the coronavirus. Every day, he goes on the app checking for scheduled activities, which he says has helped with organization in the chaplaincy.
It's a lot easier for people to schedule their time, what mass they want to attend, what time they want to visit, because the offices are not as busy as, and of course we're not in full business, as they say. The office doesn't open all the time. So we open Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. So with the app, you're able to say, okay, Father, I'm coming in to see you on Monday at so time. So I think we're getting more organized.
All Sanctus, originally launched as a church management tool for one parish, covers 4 digitized parishes and has garnered more than 3,000 subscribers.
What the pandemic has done is for people to appreciate that these things can be done. I also don't see why I should get to the priest office and sit for 2 hours. I'm a busy person. I don't want to get there and there are a whole lot of people and then I'm waiting. I want to know that this is my time. I can come in, see the priest, and then continue with what I'm doing. Okay? So it's not an app for the pandemic. It's an app for efficiency.
In a push to ease restrictions, authorities in Lagos lifted the restriction on places of worship beginning from August the 7th.
For over half a century, civil rights icon John Lewis made history fighting for desegregation and for the right to vote in the U.S. Don Porter's documentary, John Lewis, Good Trouble, chronicles his life of activism. VOA's Penelope Polo has more.
My philosophy is very simple. When you see something that is not right, not fair, not just, say something, do something, get in trouble, good trouble, necessary trouble.
The late congressman's lifelong struggle for civil rights in America is chronicled in Don Porter's documentary, John Lewis, Good Trouble.
We're marching today to dramatize to the world that hundreds and thousands of Negro citizens denied the right to vote.
Using rare archival footage, the documentary highlights Lewis's more than 60 years of social activism. In 1963, he was one of the organizers of the March on Washington. In 1965, he helped lead a nonviolent march across the Edmund Pettus Bridge in Montgomery, Alabama, against segregation and for the right to vote. There, armed Alabama police attacked the peaceful demonstrators, including Lewis, in a day that became known as Bloody Sunday.
I was hit in the head. My knees went from under me. I thought I was going to down the bridge.
Hours before Lewis's death on July 17th, the documentary's executive producer, Erica Alexander, spoke to VOA about Lewis's political convictions and personality.
He knows that the most powerful nonviolent tool for change in any movement, and especially in that, is the right to vote. So he works hard to defend it. He protects that right for everybody. He's a person who doesn't get pessimistic because he understands that America as an idea is a gift.
Using current interviews and footage, Don Porter's documentary shows how the late civil rights icon continued until the end to provide the blueprint for a transparent and fair legislative process for voting rights, for healthcare reform, for immigration and gun control.
You cannot replace a John Lewis.
He's the most courageous person I ever met.
Too many people struggled and died to make it possible for every American to exercise their right to vote.
He challenges the conscience of the Congress.
During the 2014 screening of Ava DuVernay's biopic, Selma, on the Selma to Montgomery marches, Lewis spoke to VOA about the power of peaceful resistance.
We were willing to be beaten, willing to be jailed, willing to suffer to gain the right to participate in a democratic process. We literally put our bodies on the line. And Selma have changed America forever. You speak to President Carter, or President Clinton, or President Obama. Hadn't been for Selma and that bridge, these three men probably wouldn't have been elected president.
As for seeing his younger self portrayed by actor Stephen James in Selma,
I wanted to say to the actor, I want my backpack back. I really want my trench coat. Young, it took me back to the time when I was only 20, 21, 23, 24, 25, when I walked across that bridge with that backpack, my trench coat. I had all of my hair and a few pounds lighter.
There are forces in America today want to take us back, but we're not going back. We're going forward.
Penelope Pulu, VOA News, Washington.
Well, and that's our show for today. You can find all the continent's top news and world news online at voaafrica.com. Check it out. I'm Vincent McCory in Washington. Channels Television has our last word from Lagos.
Many thanks, Vincent. We look forward to bringing you another show next week. Remember, channelstv.com is your source for news and other programming. I'm Chamberlain Uso. Thank you for watching and goodbye.